Hello and welcome back to the Games Kingdom. My name's Carl King and today we're going to be having a look through Moonrakers by IV Studios. This copy was kindly donated by IV Studios to me at the recent UK Games Expo. So without any further ado, let's have a quick look through at what Moonrakers is all about, how you play, the components, and my general sort of feelings after playing a couple of solo games of Moonrakers. So what is Moonrakers? Well, it's a sci-fi deck building game where you are trying to fulfill contracts either on your own or with allies that you may call for from your other players, or from a mercenary deck if you're playing solo. This is a game that you can play with 1 to 5 players. Takes about an hour to 2 hours depending on player count, and the recommended age range is 14 plus. But as I say, I've played a couple of games now solo, so I'll give you my thoughts on that at the end of this video. And then once I've played with actual sort of human players, I'll come back and maybe do a follow-up video of that as well. I'm also going to doing a written review for Everything Board Games magazine, but that will come out later and hopefully will be available online within the coming weeks. So first off, let's have a quick look through the Moonrakers rulebook. And the rulebook is nicely set out. It includes obviously an introduction and a sort of components page, so you can check that everything that you've got in your box should be in your box. And if you've got any missing pieces, obviously you can contact the producers of the game and hopefully they will sort that out for you. Also in here is a QR code that if you scan it, it will give you a link to a how to play video, but there are others online, either via YouTube or things like Board Game Geek, on the games page on that particular website. So my video today won't be a sort of a game sort of run through. It's just a review of what the game is about and what's in the game itself. So firstly, you've got a ready to play sort of how to set up your table. So you've got a couple of game boards. You've got an armory board and a dispatch board. From the armory board you place your coins and your crew that you can hire and the ship part deck. Then you take 3 of the hire crew from the deck and you put them out at the top, and then underneath that you put 6 ship part cards, and those can be bought, either the crew or the parts can be bought in the buying phase at the end of the turn when you are the mission leader. And it's only the mission leader who gets to choose on which contract is done in that particular player's turn. The other board is the dispatch board, and from there you draw 8 contract cards, and that makes up the contract deck that is available for players to choose from. And each time one is picked, whether it's successful or not, it is then replaced by another card. And again, you just keep doing that until either the cards run out and then you can redo that deck, or you just continue using those until somebody wins the game. The other part of the board, which you can see on the right hand side there, is where you put your ship marker. Everyone starts at 0 and it's the first person to get to 10 prestige that wins the game. You gain prestige by either fulfilling contracts or you actually do an objective. And you start with 3 objective cards. You take 2 of those, you discard 1 to the bottom of the pile, and that's the 2 that you start the game with. You can get more during the game, and as you complete them you instantly get a 1 prestige point reward for fulfilling your contract, and you go up the track each time you gain those prestige points, either from the cards that form your contract or your objectives. So you can quickly move up the track, but because of things like hazard, you can then be knocked back down that track, and you get those hazards if you don't sort of complete your contract and use shields to knock off some of those hazard dice rolls. And also there are other cards in the game that will allow you to reduce the number of dice rolled or ignore some of the hazards, and including that you can get a ship crew that will also give you bonuses of such like, you know, remove 2 hazard rolls or ignore 2 hazard dice rolls. So there are ways of mitigating the hazard dice rolls, but if you don't do it at the end of the turn where you're trying to fulfill a contract, you and any allies that were helping you, any of those that get through, everybody loses that amount of prestige. You can never go below 0, but obviously you're going up and down the track as you either fulfill successfully a contract, or you fail and you don't take off all of the hazard dice rolls. So how does your game work? Well, you all start with the same hand of 10 cards. So everybody gets 2 damage 1 cards, 3 reactor cards, 2 shield cards, 2 thruster cards and a miss card. So they form your deck. You then shuffle that and you draw yourself the top 5 cards, and that is your opening hand. So as you can see here, these 5 cards were the cards that I ended the game with. So a shield, reactor, thruster, reactor and a miss card. And then this was my deck of cards that would have formed my next turn had there been another one, but I played through 10 turns as a solo player and that was the end of the game. So as you can see there, this is the sort of cards that you can get in the game, and this is what they do. So the reactor card gives you an extra 2 actions to play on your turn. So as any player within the turn, including the mission leader, you all start with just 1 action. So that means playing 1 card. So most of the time, unless that 1 card is played as an ally to help completely fulfill a contract, your more than likely card is going to be a reactor card, because you will play that will take out your 1 action, but will immediately give you 2 more actions to do straight away. But you can also play thruster cards. So you could play your reactor card first, gives you 2 more actions. You could play your thruster card, which would then immediately give you 2 cards into your hand, and you would then have an extra 2 cards to draw from for your second action. And if you played another reactor card at that point, you would then get a further 2 actions, and you would keep cycling through until you couldn't do any more actions, and then that would end your particular turn. You've got the shield cards, which are to block hazards, as you can see there. You've got the miss card, which is basically a system error, and then we have 3 different damage cards, a 1, a 2 and a 3, and those damage cards literally do what they say on the tin. They remove and use up the damage points that you may need to fulfill certain contracts. How do contracts work? Well, these are the 8 contracts that ended up on the board when I did and completed turn 10. So we'll have a look at a couple of them. So you will see here that on the fuel shortage card, in the top right hand corner there is a diamond with a number 1 in it, and there is a 3 and a symbol beneath that. The 1 in the diamond is the amount of prestige that you can gain, and the 3 means the amount of credits that you will also gain if you fulfill this particular contract on your turn as the mission leader. You could attempt to do that on your own, or you can ask for help from your allies. But if you do that, you have to agree with them how you're going to split those rewards, and you cannot go back on that agreement. But those allies could say, yes, we're going to help, and then they could stop you doing and completing that contract by saying, well, actually, I haven't got the cards, or I now don't wish to play those cards. So you have to be careful who you ask, and trust that they're going to come in. They have no other penalties if they do that, other than potentially hazard, but they could say, no, we're not now going to help you. However, if you do attempt it and you are successful, what you would need to play to fulfill this card is, between you or singularly, you will have to play 2 thruster cards and 2 cards with at least 2 damage on them. So if you do that, either on your own or with the help of another player or players, then you will successfully complete that contract, and as I say, you will then reap those rewards yourself or have to split it as agreed. But before you attempt to complete it, you will roll 1 hazard dice, as shown here in the bottom right hand corner by the symbol and the 1 bold stripe underneath it. Now there are potentially 0 to 4 hazard dice to be rolled, depending on the value and sort of lucrative contract that you wish to try and complete during your mission leader part of the phase. But as I say, these hazard dice are rolled, and you could end up with a roll, if you were to roll 4 dice like this, so that would be 6 hazard that you would need to get rid of. So not only would you need to play those 2 cards that we showed you earlier, or those 2 denominations of cards, two thruster cards and at least 1 card of a level 2 or a level 3 or 2 level 1 damage cards, you'd also have to try and play 6 shield cards either on your own or between you as your set of allies. If you don't, then at the end of the turn, any of those that get through will cause you to lose prestige. So you could gain 1 from the card, but if you only take off 4 and are left with those 2 that you couldn't play shields against, you would gain 1 prestige and then you would all lose 2. So it can be a very damaging sort of turn depending on how the dice are rolled. So there is a little bit of luck in it with the dice, but the dice have 0s, 2s and 1s, and that's all there is on the dice. So you've got that, that and that, and that's what can come up. So some of the cards are quite lucrative, but are also very difficult to sort of achieve. So on this one, for example, you would gain 5 prestige and 12 credits, but you would need to enlist the help of 5 crew members between any players that are in on the alliance, because that's going to be very difficult for a single player to do, to have 5 crew members as well as play 4 reactor cards and 4 thruster cards. You would have to roll all 4 of the hazard dice, so you could get 4 blanks or you could get 8 hazard, which means you would also have to play 8 shield cards as well to stop any of those prestige points being lost. And obviously if you are attempting a 5 card and you roll 8 hazard and you don't get rid of any, you're going to lose all of those plus potentially 3 of any that you already have. So whilst you're going to get a lot of benefit from that card, it is very dangerous to attempt even on your own and or as part of an alliance. So as I say, your prestige will go up and down throughout the game simply by sort of failing those rolls or not being able to play cards because nobody has them in their hand. And when you draw new cards by playing the thruster card, they might not come out either. And then at one point, everybody's going to run out of actions, and then you obviously work out whether you have been successful or not, and then you take the rewards or the penalties as per whatever that result may be. And then your ship will move up and down on this prestige track. So as I played solo, you will see there's 2 ships there. The lower one went up the track fully once and ended up on the 4 space. So that was 14, and each one of those points is worth 10 victory points. So I scored 140 there, and I scored an extra few points based on credits and cards that I had on my board and in my hand. And the other ship simply goes up the track and marks the amount of turns. So once that gets to the top, you've run out of turns, and you just add up your score and you see how far up that track you've got in number of points. And then you consult a table in the book, and it tells you what sort of pilot and sort of Moonraker you have become. So the rest of the game, as I say, we've got some very nice metal coins in denominations of 1 and 3. You've got your crew deck, so again, very nice artwork on these. And in the bottom right hand corner you can see the cost in credits. So these crew members cost 4, 2 and 3 respectively. And then below that you've got your 6 ship upgrade card. So this one costs you 7, but the benefit from that is your first damage 1 card played counts as a damage 3 card. So if you were playing it against this particular contract, for example, you could play a damage 1 card if you had that ship upgrade, and that would count as 3 of that 5 total, and you'd only need to play a further 2 points of damage to complete that contract and gain the rewards. And the rewards on that are 1 prestige, 5 credits, and you get to pick a card, either a crew card or a ship card. So where do the ship upgrades go? Well, they go on your player board like this. So I ended up with these 4, but you can change them round. If you have 4 ship upgrade cards, you simply then buy a 5th if you wish, and you have to take one off and replace it with another one, and that one that is taken off is simply discarded. So they're all different, and as you can see, they've all got different names. So you've got Henko, Comek, Ventus, Cerealia, Magnomi, and some of your objective cards, sorry. Some of the objective cards call for you to have, say, 3 Henko ship parts for your ship. If you do that, then you can instantly play that card and go, I've completed this objective, I gain an extra prestige. However, you must keep an eye on these, because on the turn that you do that, you have to declare it straight away. If you fail and somebody starts their turn as the mission leader, then you have to wait until you've bought another one of those and put it onto your ship board, even replacing one that you've already got, to be able to claim it. You can't simply claim it when it comes back round to you. If you lose that, you don't then just wait and then claim it next turn. So there's all sorts of different ones here. So this one here, play at least 5 damage on the same contract. So again, if we were playing this contract and completed it, then this objective card will be fulfilled, and you can claim the extra prestige point for doing that. That would then simply be turned over, and you would keep that till the end of the game. You don't gain anything extra for them at the end of the game, but it just helps you to sort of keep track of where you are. But obviously, if anything happens, then you may gain prestige and then lose prestige on the same turn, because you could gain that card there, and you could lose things simply by not playing enough shield cards, even if you do fulfill the contract. So you've just got to be wary of those dice at the same time as trying to fulfill your contracts. So all in all, that's how the sort of cards work. You get a sort of deck of objective cards. They're all different, as you can see here. They're all differently named. So you've got money bags, specialist, generalist. So again, there, that just tells you that you need to acquire 3 Magnomi ship parts for your ship, and once you do, you can claim that. And then that one says play at least 3 shield cards on the same contract. So not only would you then sort of fulfill that objective by playing those shields, you're also cancelling out hazard dice at the same time. So that can be a quite nice sort of objective to have. And there are different things that you can do on your turn, not just fulfill contracts. So you get a nice little sort of help card. So the option 1 is you can select a contract, you invite allies if you wish, you negotiate the rewards as per what's on the contract card, then you roll the hazard dice, so everyone will see what the hazards are after they've agreed to join, but before you try and fulfill the contract. Then you attempt to fulfill that contract. If you do, you distribute the rewards as agreed, and you subtract any hazard from the prestige gained. So again, just because you fulfilled the contract, it doesn't mean that that's going to protect you. If you don't get rid of the hazard dice, if you've rolled any, then that is still going to be a factor that you have to allow for. Option 2, you can stay at the base. So you simply take a credit, draw 2 new objective cards and keep one, and the optional thing is you can discard a contract and replace it from the row. But once you do that, obviously you're doing that for the benefit of all of the other players, potentially before that comes round to you. So if you're playing a 5-player game and you think that contract is just simply too stupid that we can't ever sort of complete it, you could take this one off, and you'll put a new one in its place, but that could be a lot easier for one of your opponents to do now, and the other one's simply discarded and is out of the game. But your next player could think, well, actually I can do that, or I'll help somebody to do that, or get some allies to help me do it, and then they would gain that reward, and they don't even have to ask you to join in. So you need to be careful if you are getting rid of contracts before it comes back down to you. And then you can also, at the end of every turn that you are the mission leader, so basically the main player for that turn, you can purchase your ship parts and or crew, and you can then discard, you have to discard all of your hand cards. So if I only ended up with these two at the end of that particular turn, I would discard those, put them on the pile, and they would also then, I would draw a new deck of cards from my live deck. I would have 5 new cards for the next turn, because obviously as soon as you do that, you could become an ally for the next player, so you're going to need a hand of cards. You keep those cards secret, you keep all of your objective cards secret, and then you're going around the table just playing turn by turn, trying to get to 10 prestige. On your turn, you can also pay 1 credit, and you can discard and replace any one contract from the dispatch. So you could, if you have any credits, do that sort of seek and destroy thing on any of the contracts before your turn, but it will cost you a credit to do that, and then you'll get to put a new one out. And you can also discard and replace a ship part or crew from the armory. So again, you can do that to any of these cards by playing a single credit, but obviously again that's weakening you for the end of your turn, because you use those credits to actually buy the upgrades. So you could do both of those, but you will be 2 credits down for the end of your turn potentially. All players start with 1 action, and 1 action equals 1 card played, and if you run out of actions you cannot play any additional cards. And as it says at the bottom there, 1 shield blocks 1 hazard. So 1 shield card played by anybody will take out any one of those symbols. So again, you've just got to be sort of wary of what you're doing. The hazard dice that have been rolled, can we fulfill that? Can we do this? Can we do any of it? And maybe sometimes you're just going to have to try and fulfill the contract without negating all of those hazard dice, and just take your punishment, but you will get some other rewards. Even if you lose all of the prestige, you might gain some cards, you might gain some credits, but you might not gain any prestige simply because you've not been able to block all of those hazard dice rolls. So there it is, Moonrakers, a nice little deck building game from IV Studios. As I said, I've now played a couple of games, scored in the sort of 140s both times. So I'm going to keep playing, see how far I can get with this after playing sort of 4 or 5 singular solo games, and then hopefully get a group of gaming friends together, and we'll see how it plays as a group, and then we'll come back and tell you the thoughts on that. But until then, it's bye for now.